All right, in this video, we're going to talk about doing a daily prayer of surrender, a spiritual practice that any of us can incorporate very easily into our rhythm of life, our routine. When we talk about a daily prayer of surrender, what are we talking about? We're basically saying there comes a point early on in each day when I give my day over to God, give myself over to God, give my day over to God. And it's very important that we do that. If we consider the why of doing a prayer like this, it sounds very simple, but it's very important. And the two reasons would be this. One is there's a very transactional nature to that kind of a prayer. It's not so much that you're going to feel better having prayed that, although you might. The main value is at a very deep soul level. You're saying, I give this day over to you, God. As best I know how, I give this over to you. There's a transaction that's taking place in the spiritual realm. But the second thing, and it's somewhat related, comes to us from the scriptures. Certainly God would advocate our prayers and certainly our surrender, but why the dailiness? And in Romans 12, we're urged, brothers and sisters, we urge you in view of God's mercy to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. And that's tied to the process of spiritual transformation in our lives. So this practice of giving ourselves over as daily sacrifices or as living sacrifices is important. But living sacrifices don't tend to like to stay on the altar. It's kind of hard. Life gets hard, and we kind of want to crawl back down and do life on our own terms. So having a daily prayer of surrender allows you to live out what this verse is urging us towards, to say, even today, yes, again, the next day, I want to offer myself. I want to give myself over to you, God. So it's very important that we would do that so that we can experience the kind of transformation that's available. But how? How would you go about doing this? Again, I hope you get the idea. This is very, very simple. But the first step is that you want to determine which method would be most helpful to you, because there's lots of options you could consider. One is that one of the pastors I know of actually begins every day by wriggling out of bed, going from laying flat to wriggling down and landing on his knees first. And I think that's a profound symbolism to say, I don't even want to go anywhere in my day until I've started on my knees and giving you this day. But not everybody's back can torque in that direction, and so don't let that limit you if you don't have the ability to physically land on your knees out of bed. The point is the daily surrender, not so much the wriggling. But if it works for you, give it an option or give it a try. A second option is a poem or a prayer that was given to me many years ago. It's so faded now, you can barely read it in this tiny little frame. But this prayer says some very bold, gives over some very bold statements. Starting out with saying, Jesus, I am a humble, lowly servant woman. Take me, take all of me. Add anything, take anything away, at any cost, with any price. Make me yours completely holy. And it goes on from there. But this prayer has been part of my daily routine for many, many years and has been very helpful in doing that process of saying, I want to stay in that place of surrender. I want to stay there. And I need to be reminded of that daily and to choose that daily. That'll be available for you as a download if you're interested in seeing the full prayer and sort of personalizing it for your own use. A third option that you might use for your own practice of this prayer is to consider what the 12-step communities begin their process of the 12 steps with and then becomes embedded in their daily routine. Step one is that basic saying that I can't manage my own life. There's a recognition of need for God. Step two is I've recognized God can bring my life back to a place of restoration. And then step three is choosing to let him. So the very quick and easy phrasing of this in many 12-step adherents would be, I can't, he can, so let him. And on a daily basis, I need to choose again to let him. A fourth option would be to allow one of the passages of Scripture to inform your prayers. One option could be to look at the Lord's Prayer in Matthew 6 or Luke 11, where, again, we say, as Jesus taught us to pray, your kingdom come, your will be done. You hear the language of surrender in that. 23rd Psalm is another option that you might want to consider, or of course you could write your own, whatever feels authentic to you. But whatever you do, I hope you will first determine what would be most helpful, and then just do it. Just do it. As early as you think of it in the day, it might be late in the day before you remember, but still choose it. Offer yourself on a daily basis.